Well, very good morning. We are here at Pine Grove Behavioral Health and Addiction Services with Dr. Christina Williams. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So you're the Clinical Director of Outpatient Services. So tell us, what do you do here at Pine Grove?
Goodness, a lot of things.
That's a big question.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously we provide mental health services of all kinds. So I get the lucky job of overseeing those services and making sure that our staff have what they need, but then most importantly, that our patient care services are quality and the excellence that Pine Grove stands for.
Well, so September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. So that's really the real meat and potatoes of why we're here. So tell us, so we get into the subject of suicide prevention and awareness. That's a multifaceted subject. And you guys, you take really good care of patients who may be kind of teetering on that line. Tell us about that.
So, I mean, I think it's important to kind of remember that mental health affects everyone. Suicide really is one part of that. So it's when the volume's turned up. So you've maybe been suffering for some time and the stressors feel like they're too much, and the symptoms that you've been experiencing just kind of come to a really high level, and you're feeling the need for support. And so we do our best to help people recognize that within themselves and make sure that we educate those around them to recognize when they might need a little extra support.
So in this subject, let's focus on adolescents and children, because I heard you say that it really impacts everyone, and specifically adolescents and children who may be dealing with these very complex emotions and have absolutely no idea what to do with them.
So we really work hard to involve the parents and the family members, any kind of caregivers that are important to that child or adolescent. And that's important because it helps us kind of have eyes and ears around the child or the adolescent, but also gives them tools to feel empowered, like they can know when their child needs extra support. In addition to that, obviously the patients, or the ones that we see, are the children and adolescents. And so we work with them to give them coping strategies, not only for when they're not feeling well, but to recognize in themselves when they really need extra support. So we provide tools kind of to the whole group so that people are able to really understand the symptoms, really recognize that they're normal. Teenage years are very tumultuous. So there's lots of ups and downs, there's lots of emotions and intensity, and that while that's normal, it's also important to recognize when we might need extra support.
I'm glad you said eyes and ears. What is it that, if parents are watching now and they're curious because they maybe sense something that is maybe not quite right or out of ordinary, I guess, what is it that they need to be on the lookout for?
So, I mean, I really think it's important to know that you know your child. Even though they might be a teen that's not necessarily sharing everything every day, you do know your child. You know their habits, their rituals, their behaviors. So when you notice a drastic change, whether that's in their sleeping patterns or eating patterns, maybe their mood is a little different. One of the things we see is a loss of interest. So, you know, this might be a teen who was super excited to hang out with their friends all the time and is withdrawing. Or even the opposite. You know, this is a teen that really didn't have a whole lot of friends and is going out and doing risky behaviors now. So just really drastic changes in behavior from what you're used to seeing with your child is something to pay attention to.
Those are drastic changes across the board. Will we even consider drastic changes in the way they're performing in school? Absolutely. Things of that nature?
Yes. So, you know, a lot of times you might have a very high-performing child who's in a lot of extracurricular activities, and all of a sudden you're noticing that their grades are dropping, maybe they're losing interest in football or whatever it was that they were doing before. And so you start to see them decline in that area. And it's important to know that if that's the only area that's slipping, you don't have to look for all the areas, right? It doesn't have to be eating and sleeping and behavior and school, but really any of the areas you see a decline or a change, it's important to ask more questions.
So what if it's a little more direct, right? What if you have a child or an adolescent that confides in you as a parent or a guardian or just an older individual that says they're having thoughts maybe of doing things that would hurt themselves?
So take that seriously. I know there's a bit of a myth out there that if they talk about it, they're not really seriously considering it. And so if anyone of any age actually mentions that they're having thoughts of wanting to harm themselves or end their lives in any way, do take that very seriously. And I think also knowing that asking more questions about that is not necessarily going to make things worse. It's not going to plant that idea. In fact, it's opening the door for them to feel comfortable to have that conversation and really share what they need.
What I'm hearing is that it's really important to know what's going on at all times. You know, a lot of times, and children get it from adults because adults are constantly in devices and constantly involved in so many other things while they're doing things at home. So, and kids see that. So it's just kind of falling in line as being a part of what's happening around them. So it's important, what I'm hearing is to know your child, to take that time to get to know them and understand, so that you know whenever things maybe don't seem like they're normal, to check into that. And that's not to say that having a mental health challenge isn't normal. It's, you have to admit that there's something wrong before you can get to those steps of help. Now that leads me to my next question. What kind of treatment and care do you offer here at Pine Grove for this?
So we have multiple levels of care, and so we can meet the person at whatever level they are in terms of their acuity. So obviously we have an outpatient clinic where we see children and adolescents, and we incorporate families and parents into that work. That's on an outpatient basis, so they come and go. It's just like a regular appointment you might have with your dentist, but it's just weekly or twice a week or however often. We also have an inpatient facility for children and adolescents, so if they need extra care or they are having some acute issues like some suicidality, then we can get that help. It's right across the street. We work as a team to get them increased treatment for some stabilization, and then they can return to outpatient when they're ready.
And this is a massive campus. Like you have the ability to treat large groups of people at any given time.
We do. We've actually got several levels of care. I believe we have 5 levels of care. And so, you know, for children and adolescents, it's the ones that I mentioned, but for adults, we actually have many more, depending on their stressors, their daily life events. So yes, we are a full service place.
What are patients saying as they finish the program and they leave?
I think one of the things that we really hear the most is, you know, a gratitude for normalizing and being a safe place to be able to share about the things that were really, really difficult to talk through. But then also, and then you gave me the tools to manage those so that I can live the life that I wanted.
Well, if any of this is ringing a bell to you, if this sounds familiar, if you just have questions in general because you just don't know what you don't know, reach out to Dr. Williams here and the team here at Pine Grove Behavioral Health and Addiction Services. Did I get that right?
You did.
The number is there at the bottom of your screen. There's a website there. Give them a call. It doesn't hurt to call and ask questions and seek the help that you don't even know that you may need at this point. Dr. Williams, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate the work you're doing here.